Hi everyone, welcome into Book of Magic. I'm Amy Fig, and today we're going to be painting a portrait that is journal size. However, I'm going to be painting mine on a separate piece of watercolor paper just to try it out. I tried the first one on Bristol paper, and because we're using gouache paint or you could use watercolor, it kind of warped my paper. So I'm gonna experiment on watercolor paper, and this is just a really cheap pad of watercolor paper that I got at the dollar store, so I don't know how well that's gonna work, but we'll check it out together. So I created a drawing template that you can go to Etsy and get it right now for $2.99. You just purchase it, download it, and print it, and it has these two portraits on it. I'm creating a whole series of these, so look for more. But anyways, we're gonna do this one today, and once you have got yours, you can print it out and then cut this paper in half so you just have the one portrait. And then what you're going to do is use some carbon paper like this, and we are going to trace this on to a piece of paper right now. So you can put this straight into your journal. It's the size of journals. I would recommend having a journal that has very thick and heavy paper. One of my favorite types of journals is, I think it's Stillman and Byrne, maybe something like that. Yeah, those are really heavy paper and I love them. So anywho, you could put it straight into your journal page, or you can put it on a separate piece of paper, a thicker piece of paper, and cut it out and then add it to your journal. That's what I'm going to do. So let's take our watercolor paper and put that there. You're going to need some tape. I like painter's tape, or washi tape is good. You need a tape that comes up off paper easily. And then you just look at your image and position it how you want it on the paper. And then you press down your tape. Now we're going to get our carbon paper with the dark side down. Put it underneath. And then we're going to trace this right on top, go over the top of every line here. I love to use mechanical pencils for this because the lead is so thin. It allows you to get really sharp lines. And, excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. It allows you to get really fine lines, and because it's thin, you're not able to press super hard on it, and we don't want to apply too much pressure with this. So these are ideal, in my opinion. And so I'm going to go ahead and start tracing this. I always start from the top to the bottom so I don't forget what I've drawn. And while I was tracing, every once in a while I would lift this up just to make sure I was getting all the lines. So yeah, looks like I have everything. So now just gonna remove this. And her eyes look a little wonky, but that's okay. I'm gonna kind of adjust them a little bit, kind of even them out. If your pupils look a little weird, that's fine. We'll probably just go over them with paint anyway. I would love for everyone to, I forgot her eye. eye bags on this side. I would love for everyone to approach this lesson with me as an experiment, and I want everyone to understand that I don't always make nice looking portraits. Sometimes they go really wrong, and that's okay because I learn what not to do on the next one. And so I think that if we look at this as an experiment, it will be a lot easier to just relax into it and not feel like we have to get it right on the first try. Cheers. Okay. Now, I would like to begin with a layer of a wash for the skin. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use, I don't have any really nice, big, fancy watercolor brushes. If I did, that's what I would be using. That's next on my list. But right now I have this round watercolor brush. It's a number 12, so it's one of the bigger ones that I have. And I'm just, first of all, going to use plain water and put a layer of water, very thin layer of water, just to get this damp over the face and neck. This is going to be very loose, okay? Then I'm going to use my gouache paint. This is actually the Fine Touch brand, and I'm using burnt umber. And it's on my palette right here. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna squirt my palette to just activate all of my gouache paint. I'm gonna keep it over here. Okay, then I have my towel right here. So let's begin. I can lift up and see that if you're using watercolor paper, the water will stay on there longer than any other kind of paper, so it's kind of shiny. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. So what I'm going to do is add a good bit of water to my burnt umber, and I'm going to use my paper as like a place to swatch some colors just to see what they look like. And then I'm going to start at the neck. I never want to put any color on the face first because I'm not sure, like, you know, what's going to happen. So we want to start on the neck first. And with gouache or watercolor, it usually dries lighter than what it looks like when we paint it on. And right now, this is going to look very experimental. Just go right over the eyes. Just trying to get a semi-even layer. And if it's not perfectly even, that's fine. And I want you to, if you're new to this, to just throw out the idea that you have to blend everything and like push it into the paper, because we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be adding layers and letting those layers move and do what they want. Okay, so we have this one layer here. While it's damp, we're going to use phthalo blue. Add some water to it. Gonna see what it looks like over here. It's very blue, and this is gonna look strange right now, but just trust me. We're gonna like blot it on the outside of the eye and a little underneath. We're just tapping it, assuming that it's still pretty wet if you tap it here, it should just kind of spread out on its own, which is really good. It allows you to blend it without rubbing into the paper. Get a little more blue, and I'm gonna touch on the inside of the eye area here. We're also gonna add shadow across the bottom of the nose. This is everywhere that there is shadow on the face. A little bit on the outside of the nostrils. And then we've traced this line here, so we're going to add some shading there. Also right underneath the lip. And it's okay if your color bleeds. You can wipe your brush off and just drag it along where it was bleeding and it will come right up. We're also going to add some more water to your brush again. Get that watery blue. And we're going to do some shadow underneath the chin and down the neck, just right along the edge. Dry or blow dry it and then come back for our next step. Alrighty, I blow dried mine, and now that it's dry, we're going to add another layer of everything that we just did, except instead of blue shading, we're going to do red shading. So we're going to repeat the process where we put a light layer of water over the entire face and neck and chest. If you rub it too much, it will start moving the color around, so just be mindful to barely skim across. And now we're going to do, oh boy, my blue is blending over my brown there. Okay, let's clean that up. All right, we're going to go back to our burnt umber, get it watery. And this time I'm gonna practice over here. I want it to be a little bit darker than when I first put it on. As you can see, it dried very light. Just kind of wanting to keep the color very watery over here on your palette so that you can just grab it. We don't want to rub to the paper. We're more like skimming across it. And it's okay to go over the eyes. And it's okay that there's some unevenness happening, because that's the style that we're painting. It's very loose and you can see brush strokes, and so it's working. Now I'm going to use vermilion red. It's a very warm red, almost orangey on the palette. You can see here. And I'm going to water it down a little bit. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm adding a little more water. And I'm going to place it in the same areas that I placed that blue. So the inner and outer eye. We've sort of lost some of our shading of the blue, so we're going to add that in. I'm just tapping it in. And while we're here, if you keep the water or the color very watery on the palette, you can just tap in to get some rosy cheeks. Now this all looks very rosy, and that's okay. Go back into the blue. I'm gonna get it really watery over here. Test it out, and then reapply. This is shadowing. It's okay if it comes out darker in some areas. This process is a lot of back and forth layering, and it's just about experimenting to get a look that you're happy with. Keeping the paint very watery on the palette, and then I just come over here and I tap it on. And this, as you can tell, so this blue is bleeding upward and I want to stop it right there. So I'm going to dry off my brush as much as possible and just kind of tap it. There we go. I'm going to dry this again and we'll go over it with one more layer. Okay, so I just finished blow drying this, and there's this weird thing that happened here, but that's okay. I can either cover it up with something later or attempt to fix it right now. I think what I will do is I'm just gonna go over it again with the burnt umber. Hold on, my palette. It's getting very watery over here. Okay, so let's use some more burnt umber. Okay, so we're using burnt umber now. Again, this is the same brown we've been using. And now I want to tap this color onto the dry. I'm gonna rinse it off, wipe it a little bit so I have a clean, damp brush right now. And I'm just gonna test around the eye. Gonna rinse it off, dry it off, and tap out the edges here. And then just go all the way down. Again, this is not gonna look perfectly blended. It's meant to be very watery. Can use paint from right here. Go in here. Bottom of the nose. Here. A little bit under the lip. Watery. Burnt umber. Just gonna go over all of this again. It's a lot of layers. Okay. Now I'm gonna use a little bit of water. Gonna put some water here. I'm gonna get the burnt umber, get it watery over here, test it out, and then I'm gonna add some, tapping it on. Kind of just spread around. Let's just go over the lips. Hopefully you can still see yours. Just getting some more of the burnt umber. Adding water. And adding some more paint on top of it. Gonna add a little bit of water down here. Get some watery paint and then just kind of tap it in. And now you can see the difference in the layer that we haven't painted. So let's add a little bit of water here. And then some watery burnt umber. And we're going to leave this area with a lighter color. Leave that there to look like a highlight as much as possible. If you lose it, it's okay. You can add it back in later. And I think I'm good with this. So while we're letting this dry, we're going to address the hair, and you can choose any color. I'm gonna choose the blue we've been using, the phthalo blue, since it's right here on my palette. And this is, you can just play around with this. I'm gonna vary the color a little bit by just adding some more water to it in certain spots. Or I might also want to add some purple to it. You can make the hair really any color and any way you want. It's just all up to you. This is a really fun part. It's all fun to me. I hope you're enjoying it. It is, if you haven't worked with watercolors or gouache in a watery way like this, it can be a little bit challenging at first, but don't worry, the more you try it and play around with it, the better you'll get. And as long as you just remember that, you know, you're learning, and the process of learning is fun, especially if it's having to do with art, don't you think? So yeah, this is a process, and really the most important thing about making art is getting into your flow and enjoying the process. I'm just going back and forth with these two colors and adding water here and there just to keep flowing. I also left some of the page showing, like right here, because I think it looks like highlights. It just gives a really cool look to me. And we're done with the hair. I will blow dry this and be right back. Alrighty, so this is what it looks like at this stage, and I want you to notice if you are maybe putting it down because it looks really weird, or if you're putting down her look like, oh my god, she looks really hideous right now, but really she doesn't. She's just at one stage, one layer before she's finished. So like we shouldn't feel any type of way towards what this looks like. It's just a layer. I'm so excited to share this process with you because it helps us when we trace a photo reference. It really helps us to see the way faces are as far as proportion. Like usually when we start out drawing portraits, we make our eyes really way too big, and from there it just can get kind of wonky. But if we use photo references to trace combined with drawing freehand, we learn about proportions quicker, and this will save you time on your portrait journey, I promise. I'm using a GellyRoll Gel Pen. That's a number 10. I'm going to use it to fill in the little head jewel here. It's not really showing up as bright as I thought it would. Maybe I'll just outline it and then paint it in. Brush. This one is a 3003 Artist Loft. It's really tiny. I love it. Comes in a little set. I'm gonna use the dark brown. So I'm staying in this color family. I've only used 5 colors. I'm gonna go back to the brown we've been using, the burnt umber. I'm gonna load my brush up with more paint than water, so it's gonna be thicker, it's gonna be darker. I'm gonna turn my page to get an angle, and I'm gonna fill in the eyebrow. Try my best to stay in the lines of what's already there. I'm holding my brush towards the end so that I can have the most control and holding it like a pencil. I'm gonna do the first few eyebrow hairs where you can see the lines, and then the rest is just gonna be one like a block. Same thing over here. If I still have some little bit of paint on my brush, I'm gonna load it up again. I'm gonna turn my paper to an angle so that I can get the best coverage and not have to strain my wrist or twist it into a way that's gonna give me a crooked line. Now I see that my brows, well, not too bad. I thought they were really crooked. Let's make her eyes blue. Using the same blue I've been using. I want to get like a mid-tone of it. Let's see, it's kind of light. And just fill in the entire circle of the eye. We're gonna let that dry. While I'm here, let's see. I'm gonna fill this in with some brown. Just gonna try and add a little shading with this little brush. I'm adding some paint. Gonna rinse it off, dry it off, and then kind of touch the edges. Still a little bit of water on there. Gonna get some more brown. A little bit of a layer of brown here. I'm okay with all of these different variations in color. It actually looks really cool at the end. So I'm just gonna, keep flowing with it the way it is. Just gonna add a little bit of the brown here. And I'm also gonna add a little bit of brown shading across the bottom of the nose here. I'm gonna come around the side. Get some more. As you can see, it dries very light, so let's give her some rosy lips. This is going to be a different pink. Getting that water here. Oop. Oopsie. I'm gonna turn my paper so that I can get these angles. Holding my brush again very close to the end of it so that I can have a good sense of control. That's drying. Let's fill this in. You could paint this in as well with any color you want. I'm just doing it this way because it's faster. I don't want the video to be too long, but you could really use anything you want to fill this in. You can do paint or any other kind of markers because you'd be able to get sharp lines if you use marker as well, or really precise lines. Okay, for the eyes, since they're pretty much done, we're gonna mix our blue color, and we want to get it a little bit darker than what's there. So that means we'll just put more paint and less water. And we're going to, let's see if I can see this. We're gonna put a line right across the top to make sure it's dark enough. Across the top of the eye. This is giving the impression of a shadow from the upper lid. And then we're gonna go and put another layer of pink just on the top lip. Reason for this is that the bottom lip is usually lighter than the top lip because it's seeing more light. The light's hitting it. So we're just gonna go turning our paper wherever we need to and give the top lip a layer there. Oh, I know. So what I'm gonna do is use this peachy color, like a flesh tone. It's called Light Coral. And I'm gonna see if I can fix the bottom lip. Try just adding this color, see what happens. Okay, well I like it, filled it in a little bit more, it made it more opaque. So I'm gonna let that dry and then I'll probably do one more coat of pink over it, maybe? The next part of this would be the detail work, which I like to do with micron pins. They are not water soluble, they're permanent, they're archival, they don't smear when water touches them. So these are the best ones to use in my opinion. Let's see. Make sure I can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to outline the upper lid. Color in the pupil. Same thing over here. If you happen to wongify your pupils, like I think I just did, we can definitely fix that. Also going to, you still should be able to have like a little faint line from where you traced. Let's see, let's just take your time here. Turn your paper, just go slowly. Taking our GellyRoll pen and applying 2 dots on the side of the pupil. Using the micron pen to add eyelashes. I don't like to make them too long. I like to keep them as natural looking as possible. Sometimes I like to add this line here. And go again with, so, you know, as you're working on this, and it dries, you're gonna see like where it's staying really light and you need it to be darker. So you just keep adding your shading in. Whoa. I think I like where it is right now. Of course, I could go on and on with this forever. Could definitely add like marker. If you have fine tip markers, you could define the strands of hair. You could also use colored pencils for this. Or you could just do it with your paint that you already have out, or you could use acrylic paint. I mean, the possibilities are really endless from here. You could definitely paint these a color. Yeah, I really love how it's looking. As you can see, it's very watery and there's variations all over it, but I like how that looks. And I think this one's good for this time. I'm gonna cut it out and show you what it looks like if I were to glue it in my journal. Here is the finished piece cut out, and if I wanted to glue her in my journal, because it's a thick paper, I would use this glue, Fabrifix or 3-in-1. It's the same type of glue. That would hold it really well. And look at the difference in these. So many different ways to paint this lady from this painting template. And once again, you can get these on Etsy. These are my mystical women portraits. This is number 1, the first sheet. It's got 2, and we'll be doing this one next, so stick around. You can get these on Etsy right now for $2.99, and these mystical women portrait sessions here on YouTube will be in a playlist and labeled so that you can find them all. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give it a try. Make sure you let me know what you think. And if you have any questions or suggestions, I would love to hear from you. You can also follow me on Instagram to see some more inspiration there. And that's it. I thank you again for being here, and I can't wait to do the next one. So I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.